Low volleys, the bane of every tennis player. In this video, I'm going to show you how to hit them, where to place them, and I'll also talk a little bit about the mindset that you should have around them to go from, oh rats, low volley, to at least, hey, I know what to do, I'm prepared for that low volley. Low volleys happen at any level of the game. Doesn't matter what rating you are, but to my mind, at higher ratings, it becomes even more important that you master that difficult shot, because your opponents will deliberately try to get the ball to your feet, because it is a tough volley. You have to lift the ball up, which makes it slower, and then in turn, that could give them a better chance at passing you. In order for you to control the low volley, everything, your entire body has to be low and stable, balanced. You're not going to successfully hit a ball like this. It has to be your entire body. My head is still over my center of gravity. That's how I'm solid, and that's how I'm going to be balanced. And yes, it's tough. And that low position starts with your approach shot. So you're hitting your approach shot, and you want to stay low as you're coming in. You can always pop up if you get a high volley, but you can't beat gravity dropping down. If you're coming in a completely upright position and then you're trying to adjust to the ball, that's obviously at your feet, you're going to end up chopping down at the ball. So those are the balls that a lot of times end up in the net, or they pop up. And that's why I love my backhand slice as an approach shot, because I am already super low and I'm also in my proper grip. Coming in with that low position here also makes it very easy to just set your racket face out to where you're actually going to make contact with the ball. You don't want to have your racket up here and then drop and then set. For any volley, whether it's a higher volley or a lower volley, a good ready position is the grip about a little lower than your belly button and the racket face slightly over your hand. That way you can react to either side and just set it out, because that's all you most likely have time for. Because most likely the balls that you get at your feet are harder balls, higher balls. If somebody drills the ball at you, they're going out. Before we get to the footwork and the actual racket work, let's talk about what you can and cannot do with those low volleys. It is almost never a point finishing shot. It is most likely either a point building ball or a neutralizing ball. One exception perhaps, if somebody is really dipping the ball low, really, really close to the net, and you can hit a very extreme angle, maybe then you can outright win that point. Other than that, most of the low volleys you will play around the service line, either as a point building shot because you just transitioned in, it's a transition volley, you hit your approach, you're trying to get to net, or it's a neutralizing ball because you somehow find yourself in this position. So for instance, after you ran down a drop shot and you're trying to scramble back into a better defensive position. You have two options. Either you volley the ball deep so that you have time to keep closing in, or you're hitting a volley that actually fades down around the service line of your opponent, because that way they have to move up to it. They most likely have to lift it. You can close in, and then you have a higher volley. So to my mind, that's the two options you got. What I would suggest you're not doing is to try an all cutesy little drop shot volley from down here. That's something that I would leave to Karolina Muchova. And that is what I meant earlier with the mindset around these balls. You've got to accept that it is not the point finishing shot, and you want to be really disciplined with those volleys. Back to the execution. You got your really, really low base, and you got your racket so low that you easily are able to put that racket behind the ball, because you want a really compact motion. And by compact racket movement, racket motion, I mean that you're literally just setting out the racket here and you're moving through with a very compact, very short movement of your racket to that volley, up to your contact. Ideally, you want to get your outside leg behind the ball and drive off of that outside leg forward. So what is the outside leg? I'm a right-hander, so if I'm hitting a forehand volley, my right leg will be my outside leg. So I'm trying to move up to the ball. So I can set that leg behind the ball here, and then I'm pushing forward off of my back leg. It's that long stride in from my back leg that helps me to control that ball. And that also completely reduces the need for a take back, which I definitely don't want to have on a low volley. If I get a backhand volley, for me as a right-hander, my left leg is my outside leg. It's always the leg that is closer to the side that I'm going to hit on. So I'm split stepping, I'm setting my left leg out here. And again, that allows me to drive off forward and into the ball. And of course, when I'm able to stride into the ball like that, it makes it really easy to then continue my forward movement to follow up that ball. One key point there is that you make sure that you're not planting your front foot and then you're reaching here. That's when you tip over. My front foot, as I'm hitting, is actually still in the air or just about to plant. How open does the racket head have to be for me to be able to play those low volleys? You could argue that because the ball is way below net line, I have to open my racket face quite a bit. And that is where a lot of players are overdoing it. They open it way too much and the ball pops up, which of course brings our opponent back in the game. They have an easier pass, or they even outright hit us. As opposed to a chest-high volley that I have above net line, where I basically have my racket face almost neutral, meaning like this, perpendicular down to the ground here, I may have to open my racket face ever so slightly, whether I hit that deeper ball or that volley that fades around the service line. I'm creating that depth and the control again with my legs. I'm not manipulating my racket face here with my wrist to determine where I'm placing it or how deep I'm hitting it. So this is where the ball machine comes in. And this is great because here I can just experiment how far I have to open my racket face or how close I need to keep it depending on what depth I want to hit. So these are those fadeaway balls. And then I got to punch through a little bit more on the deeper volleys. But I'm not opening my racket face a whole lot more. We've covered the low volleys now. However, there are still the ones that we call the so-called easy, the juicy ones. So if you want to make sure that you're not missing those, check out this video.